Drinking buddies, fall has arrived, and today we're going to be talking about the 5 best whiskeys you should be drinking this fall. And guess what? They're all readily available.
I'm your drinking buddy.
All right, so the first 2 we're going to talk about are going to be ryes, and I specifically want to highlight ryes because I believe that rye spice is very akin to pumpkin spice, and the flavors just remind me of fall. I think that rye is an excellent whiskey to be drinking around fall. So we're going to begin with a readily available rye at 100 proof, Knob Creek rye. Why did I choose this one? Because it's easy to find, it tastes great, and I think it's loaded with that fall spice. Cinnamon, nutmeg, pumpkin spices, clove, allspice, all of those flavors that you associate with pumpkin, they're right here in this one. This is a really great bottle. You can find it anywhere, not very expensive, and it tastes like fall. All right, the second bottle I wanted to talk about is going to be Wild Turkey 101 Rye. Now, I did talk about this one once before in a short where I did a review of it, so I won't spend too much time on this one. You can watch that short, link in the description. But I believe this one highlights those fall spices that I was talking about earlier really nicely, but it also brings in some black pepper and a little bit of butterscotch. A lot of ryes taste butterscotchy to me, and sometimes they can be too much butterscotch. Not this one, it's really nice. Wild Turkey 101 Rye. Our third bottle is going to be a bourbon, so not a rye, but it is a high rye. And it is a bottle that I don't talk about enough because it's readily available and it's excellent. This Russell's Reserve 10-year is better than Eagle Rare. Now, I plan to do a video soon where I compare the 2 blind just to make sure I'm not being crazy, but I have done that test on my own and I did prefer the Russell's Reserve 10. Now, this is one that I just think highlights a lot of classic bourbon flavors, but at 10 years old, you get a little bit more age on it, you get a little bit more charred barrel flavor on it, and got a really good, really lovely nose. It's very citrusy, and just smells to me like fresh grass. Love it, love the smell of it. Oh yeah, got those classic bourbon flavors, the vanilla, the caramel, but it also brings in a lot of a little bit of dryness from the longer time being spent in the barrel. Most bourbons are not 10 years old. In fact, it's fairly rare to find a bourbon that is 10 years old. Not a lot on the market. Most bourbons are between 4 and 8 years old. Russell's Reserve 10, readily available bottle, buy it. All right, next up is, I gotta bring a higher proof bourbon to the mix, and I wanted to pick a higher proof high rye mash bill again, because I believe the rye spices are akin to those pumpkin spices. So I decided to bring an Old Granddad 114. I have talked about this bottle before, but I think this is just a wonderful budget bottle. Mixes so well. If you want to throw together a Manhattan or a Old Fashioned, this is a great bottle to do it in because of the higher proof. It really stands up to being mixed. You can still taste a lot of those great bourbon flavors. It is a Jim Beam product, so it has a little bit of that nuttiness. I like that flavor, so I have no problem with it. A lot of vanilla on this one, a lot of those fall spices, and a little bit of peanut. This is a great bottle, and it's $20 in my area. Could be a little more in yours, but no matter where you find it, it's gonna be pretty cheap. Old Granddad 114, for sure, in addition to this list. Last up, I was gonna highlight the standard Glenmorangie offering, you know, the 10-year that's finished in bourbon barrels. I wanted to include a scotch, and this is one of my favorite readily available scotches that you can get at a grocery store. But I saw this nice gift set, and this time of year, you can really get some nice gift sets that come with some awesome glassware, sometimes shakers, sometimes shot glasses, and sometimes in this case, it comes with a sample bottle of a couple of their other offerings. And I forgot how much I love the Quinta Ruban I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. Let me get it out here. Oh, just trying to pull out the wrong one anyway. So I forgot how much I loved the Quinta Ruban, which is a Scotch that's been aged 14 years in former port casks. Actually, I lied. So it begins its process in American and bourbon casks, and then it's finished in ruby port casks. So it doesn't age all 14 years in those ruby port casks, but you know, it started in bourbon barrels and it finished in those port casks. And I particularly like this one because I feel that you get, I should really rinse my glass, but I forgot to bring water over here for that. I don't think it'll mess it up too bad. But this one kind of tastes like, it's definitely your classic Scotch flavor, but the finish for me has a little bit of that charred bourbon barrel flavor. And then there's definitely some sweetness coming through from that port. This really picked up a lot of port flavor. Like for example, Angel's Envy just has a real hint of that port flavor, you know, that bourbon that's finished in port barrels, but this Scotch finished in those port barrels. Yeah. Lots of port flavor for me. It's got a little bit of smokiness coming off of it. Very malty, I mean, well, it's Scotch, but great bottle for fall, I believe, because I feel like I get some Scotch flavors, I get some bourbon flavors, I get some port flavors, and I think it fits nicely for an autumn fireside drink. All of these could be enjoyed neat. All of these, except for maybe this one, could be enjoyed in some cocktails. Overall, I think that rye really lends itself really well to Sazeracs and old fashions, and personally, I really like Manhattans to be made with bourbon. That's my personal preference, but I like a Manhattan with bourbon, and I like a Sazerac or a old fashioned made with rye. So, if you're going to be mixing cocktails, use those however you feel. But I think these 5 bottles that are all readily available. This one you might not be able to buy at your local grocery store. You might have to go to a liquor store for this, but it's not allocated. None of these bottles are allocated. So please give me a like if you can, subscribe for more, and we'll be back for more whiskey content as well as some cocktail content soon.